Om. My pranams to Pujya Swami Brahmananda ji and Swami Chinmayananda ji. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone here today. It is indeed my pleasure to be able to introduce Dr. Timmapppa Hegde to all of you. Dr. Timmapppa Hegde is currently the Director and Senior Consultant Neurosurgeon at Narayana Hrudayalaya Institute of Neurosciences. He was earlier the Additional Professor of Neurosurgery at NIMHANS, Bangalore. He was also the president of the Spinal Surgeons Association of India. Dr. Hegde had his medical and neurosurgical training in India with further specialized training in the USA, Japan, and the Netherlands. He has authored 30 scientific publications in leading journals. He has written a book on the history of neurosciences. Dr. Hegde is an eminent speaker and has spoken at multiple international forums. He has spoken at the International Gita Forum in Singapore in 2016. He has also addressed the 12th Gita Conference in 2014 at Bangalore. He was invited by the Vatican to speak at an international meeting and had a special audience with the Pope, His Holiness John Paul II, in 1999. Dr. Hegde was introduced to spirituality by the Jesuit priests from his school days at the St. Joseph's Boys High School. Since then, he has studied under many acharyas of Chinmaya mission. Dr. Hegde enjoys traveling and has visited many places related to the life of Buddha and Shankaracharya. He has also visited various places in the Indian Himalayas, Nepal, Bhutan, and the Tibetan Himalayas, including Lake Manasarovar and Mount Kailash. He has been conducting Vedanta study groups at his residence and hospital for over 5 years. He was awarded the Dattatreya Prashasti Award by Sri Shirdi Sai Global Services Trust, Bengaluru in 2015. He is the recipient of the Outstanding Citizen Award by Lions Club, Bengaluru. Dr. Hegde was selected as a member of the study group exchange program of Rotary International to visit the USA and Canada in 1997. I'm sure all of you are eagerly waiting to listen to Dr. Timmapppa Hegde. On behalf of everyone present here, I'd like to extend a hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Anupama, for this opportunity to speak to the youth of your group. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. My special pranams to Swami Brahmananda ji. Some years ago, our hospital started a neurosurgery unit at the Chinmaya Mission Hospital. And I requested him to inaugurate our services. Within 2 weeks or so, there was a Gita Dhyana Yajna at Indiranagar. And Swamiji requested me to inaugurate that function. At that time, that was about 10 years ago or so, I had no idea of the Bhagavad Gita. And I thought if I have to inaugurate, I have to speak something. And that forced me to look into the Bhagavad Gita. And I realized that of all the books that I ever came across, one of the greatest sources of inspiration have been the Bhagavad Gita. Today we will see, I know I'm addressing young people, and for young people, life is always ahead. You need sources of inspiration. And I will tell you how the Bhagavad Gita can be a source of inspiration. But before that, we always utter a lot of mantras. This mantra, Sadashiva Samaramba, I have Shamala with me. To break the monotony of this voice, Shamala will chant about any of the verses that are there. And then just listen very sensitively, and I will explain these words. Shamala, please.
Unmute. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara.
This is a wonderful Indian tradition. Whenever a speaker speaks, the speaker wishes to acknowledge from where he got all this knowledge. And there is this beautiful mantra which says, all our knowledge has come from Sadashiva. And the question is, who is Sadashiva? Sadashiva is a form of Shiva, where Shiva manifests himself as a Brahma Vidya Acharya. In our tradition, we believe that the first Acharya of this great knowledge, Brahma Vidya, is Sadashiva. So Sadashiva gave this knowledge, but this knowledge is cryptic. Our scriptures are in poetry, and they need to be decoded. Adi Shankara has done a great job in giving his wonderful commentaries. And based on these commentaries, a group of teachers have brought it down and up to my Acharya. Paryanta means up to my Acharya. Vande Guru Parampara. I make this offering. We chanted this mantra before, but I will request Shamala to chant this mantra again. Shamala, please.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you very much. Now, we know all these mantras, but for young people, they would not like to have a mantra just like that. They would like to know where these mantras have come from. Why do you give so much importance to them? And what is the meaning of these mantras? These mantras come from the Vedas, in particular the Upanishads. The Upanishads are also called Vedanta. That means the end portion of the Vedas. Now, this particular verse that we just heard is generally chanted before any studies. Whenever there is a group of teacher and student, we chant this mantra. This has come from the Krishna Yajurveda. So there are various Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda. Yajurveda is divided into Krishna, or the dark school, and Shukla, the white school. The Krishna Yajurveda has got many Upanishads, but then we study few Upanishads which are called the major Upanishads. Among them, which have been commented by Adi Shankara, is Kathopanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad. In the Kathopanishad, in the beginning of the Kathopanishad, this Shanti Pata, it's also called a Shanti Pata. What is a Shanti Pata? Now, whenever we start a telephone conversation with anybody, or whenever we meet somebody, we greet each other. We say hello. This is like a rapport building exercise. And what is the rapport building here? Om Sahana Vavatu. Saha, he, the big he, referring to the Almighty. Avatu means protect. Protect us. Who are the us? This group of master and student. Sahanau Bunaktu. Bunaktu means to relish, to enjoy. Let us enjoy this experience of the study together. Sahaviryam Karavavahe. Give us this courage to go ahead. That means by the end of this class, I should be a little more enlightened than what I was. Tejas. May my intellect be brightened. And importantly, let there be no disturbance, let there be no discord, let there be no animosity between us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now, whenever we want to do any good deed, any deed for that matter, we anticipate obstacles. Obstacles can come from three sources. Adi Daivik. We pray to the divine to see that this class goes on well. Adi Bhautik. We need the internet. We need the surroundings to be quiet. And Adhyatmik. My health should be okay. I should be a good listener. So this is a wonderful prayer. Now, I would like to focus on Sahana Vavatu. May all of us be protected. And then there is a deeper and a cryptic meaning. See, these verses are from the Upanishads. The Upanishads come to us as words. They are just words. But if you dwell on them, you will see they are not mere words. They are fire. You know, the word fire is fire. But can you touch fire? Why, it will burn. these words of the Upanishads can burn you. Burn you means what? It can burn the ego. It can completely decimate the ego. And that is the power of this verse. I'll just explain this verse. Sahana Bhavatu. Now, this Upanishad is asking for protection. All right. Now, one question to each one of us. What is the highest form of protection anybody can have? For instance, our Prime Minister has got the Special Protection Group. Now, the US President has the Secret Service. Now, these are very advanced services to offer protection. Now, this is asking for something even higher. What is the highest form of protection where you don't need any protection? When you have Brahma Vidya, you realize, see, protection from others. In Brahma Vidya, once Bhagavan Ramana was asked, how do I treat others? And his answer was, there are no others. For a person with a Brahma Vidya vision, there are no others. When there is nobody who's other than me, from whom do I want protection? When you are able to identify yourself with everybody, that means I as an individual, I have dissolved. The individual wave has dissolved. You have become one with the water. And now you are one with the ocean. You identify with everybody. There is no need for any protection. That is the power of that mantra, Om Sahana Bhavatu. One line, see that. Now, we are all listening. And my plan is, time flies very quickly. We have already 9 minutes down in this class. I plan to speak not more than 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and then we will have some interaction. But during this session, how do we listen? Stephen Covey, a great master, has said something called 3-person listening. 2-person listening is I'm speaking, you're listening. 3-person listening is I'm speaking, but you are listening with your notepad open, so that if there is an interesting point, something you will note down, so that at the end of the class, you can tell somebody, today I heard a talk and I heard something interesting which I would like to share. Now, if you're sitting with the objective that I want to share this with somebody, I want to know how Gita can be a source of inspiration. If you can come with that objective, your listening is going to be much more powerful. Otherwise, it comes from one ear, it can dissipate from the other ear. But if your listening is 3-person listening, it is possible that some of these ideas, and these are, Sadashiva Samarambha. These are not my knowledge or anybody else, human being knowledge. These are divine knowledge. And therefore, as it comes to you, and when you transmit to something others, this knowledge can have a transformative effect. The Bhagavad Gita has the great potential to transform. And one way the youth can see it is how I can treat a breakdown into a breakthrough. Now, all of us have dreams, and sometimes our dreams are shattered. And whenever our dreams are shattered, we go through a terrible breakdown. I wanted something very badly, I have not got it. Somebody does not care for me. I have a difference with my parents. My parents don't seem to understand me. And sometimes some of these issues may become so critical that there is a sense of a breakdown. Now, the Bhagavad Gita was given for Arjuna when he had a complete breakdown. We need to identify ourselves with Arjuna. Arjuna is also called Dhanurdhara Partha. Dhanurdhara means fully armed. When you buy a car and you want to buy an upper end car in that bracket, then you say, what is your car is fully loaded. That means it has got all the features possible. This is the meaning of Dhanurdhara, one who's fully armed, who's got all the abilities. But when it comes to the battlefield, when he has to perform, at that time there is a breakdown. And it can happen to all of us. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is specifically addressed for such moments when a person has a breakdown. Now, during this months of December, January, February, Chicago, which is on the Canadian border in the Northern Hemisphere, will be going through a terrible winter. Even in today, you will hear New Delhi is going through one of the worst, terrible colds. The temperatures are very low. Now, let me say a situation like this. If you are living in a place where the weather is like this, and you have an important meeting or you have to go to hospital for some reason, the question is, will you be able to reach hospital? Will you be able to take the sick person to hospital? If you have an important assignment, you have to go to the airport. Can you go or can you not go? The answer is, in such countries, they anticipate winter and they are prepared for winter. The Bhagavad Gita helps us to prepare for the winter of our lives. As I said, it is for two situations. One, if I have gone through a lot of difficulties and I'm struggling to get out of it, the Bhagavad gives us a foothold, a hope to get out of that. Also, the Bhagavad Gita will prepare us for all seasons of our life. Sometimes there are difficult moments, and how do I prepare myself for the winter of our lives? In a short time from now, you will know that the real problem in the Gita is, the real problem in all of us is our mind. I cannot show you the brain, but I will show you the mind. I'm sorry, I cannot show you the mind, so I'm showing you a model of the brain. And I'm showing you how can I be the master of my mind. The mind that all of us have is the greatest gift that we ever have. All our creative ability is possible. All our life's abilities are possible because of this. But the question is this: have you seen somebody taking a dog for a walk? And in such moments, you will ask, is the man taking the dog for a walk, or is the dog taking a man for a walk? Now, whenever my mind is restless, whenever my mind is depressed, whenever my mind is sad, it becomes dysfunctional. Instead of being a useful instrument to me, it can become a liability for me. So the Bhagavad Gita will tell us how to refine my mind, how to refine my thoughts and emotions. Essentially, you know, if I am okay, my world is okay. Listen to this. This is something good that Gautama Buddha had said. He says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, for they become your destiny. And then he makes a very powerful statement. He says, change your thoughts, change your destiny. If I have negative thoughts, if I say I'm not good, others are so much better, I'm not so lucky, life will prove that. But on the other hand, if you say, I'm so blessed, I'm so lucky, you will see that too. And therefore, the Bhagavad Gita changes the way you look at yourself, changes the way you look at your world. Our former president, APJ Abdul Kalam, and as young people, all of us, all of you, would dream. Dream means you would like to accomplish great things in life. And this is what he had to say about dream. He says, dream is not something that you see while sleeping. It is something that does not let you sleep. Now, all of us have dreams, but few people are able to transform dreams into reality. And for young people like you, I will give you a formula called the PPPMFT. It is there on my screen. You will see what is this PPPMFT. If you want your dreams to come true, it should be your dream. It should be a personal dream. It should be a positive dream, because you can use all the techniques that I'm going to teach you for negative things also. It works better if it is a positive thing. So it should be personal, it should be positive, it should be possible. It should be realistic or practical. So the 3 P's are, it should be something practical or possible, it should be positive, it should be personal. M stands for measurable. Don't have an abstract goal. Be very clear about what exactly you want. It should be something measurable so that you can, the next thing is called T. T is time bound. That means when you're working for a goal that 1 year down, 2 years down, am I somewhere working towards my goal? Am I reaching my goal? And then finally, there is an F for every goal setting exercise. The F stands for flexibility. Can I be flexible? That means there will be obstacles, and a good manager of time, a good manager of life has a certain amount of flexibility. Just like a river, the river wants to reach the goal, it wants to reach the ocean. But if you're flying and you look at the river below, you will see the course is so wavy because there are so many obstacles that come along the course. but the river has its intelligence to meander through every obstacle and finally reach the goal. Now, this is another nice inspiration from Patanjali, which says, when you are inspired by some great purpose. Friends, that's why at your age, you need to have a great vision of yourself. If you have a great vision, teachers and sources like the Bhagavad Gita can be a catalytic to help you to make things happen. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. Dormant forces, faculties, talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamt yourself to be. Now, coming back to the Bhagavad Gita. Before we study the Bhagavad Gita, we study a few verses written by a great master from Varanasi called Madhusudana Saraswati. Madhusudana Saraswati, in his commentary called Gudhartha Deepika, gave us what is called the Bhagavad Gita Dhyana shlokas. All of you are familiar with these things, but I will tell you why this particular Dhyana shloka is so important. And again, to break the monotony, I will ask Shamala to chant this for us. Shamala, please.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
How is Krishna an inspiration for the youth of today? Krishna fulfilled all the three ranas. Now, if you have a goal-setting dream, sometimes you need somebody to give you a little guidance. How do I set my dream? And this particular Dhyana shloka tells how Sri Krishna was able to fulfill his dream. Now, of course, Sri Krishna is a representation of the divine, but let it not be that it is Sri Krishna and there am I. Let it be a source of inspiration for all of us. Now, what Sri Krishna did, all of us have got three ranas. We know that our parents have done so much for us, and we really do not know how to repay our debt to our parents. We know that the community from around us has given us so much, and we are always indebted to our community. And we are indebted most to our gurus, our spiritual acharya. Now, our whole life should be a repayment of these three debts. And on the basis of these three ranas, we can map out what we want in life. Vasudeva Vasutam Devam. Sri Krishna was such a delight to his parents. How do I become a delight to my parents? Generally, parents today don't expect anything from us. But if you live your life in such a way that others are able to say how blessed your mother and father are because they have a son or a daughter like you, you have fulfilled Pitrarana. That means from today onwards, say this: I'm going to live a life in such a way that my parents will be proud that they have a child like me. That is called Pitrarana. Lokarana, if my life can be a life of contribution. As youth, as students, sometimes you always feel, I'm still dependent on my parents. I'm still dependent. I've reached this age, but I've still not been able to contribute. Don't worry. Your parents are supporting you so that you can get the highest possible skills and education possible. But once you are able to earn your livelihood, then I want you to see how you can be able to repay not only to your parents, but for the whole community. Kamsa Chanura were the viruses in the community at that time, which was a great problem. And Krishna was able to rid the community and give them a good life. See, how can I give a good life? Devaki Paramanandam, this is part of Pitrarana. Vasudeva Vasutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. What a wonderful gift Sri Krishna has given to posterity. That is his legacy, and that is his Acharya Rena. Acharya Rena does not mean offering thanks to my teachers. My teachers, especially my spiritual gurus, will be utterly fulfilled if each of us attain to our fullest potential. So take this Acharya Rena as attaining to one's fullest potential. That means in the purpose of life is this, that I'm able to fulfill 3 debts: Pitrarina, Lokarina, and Acharyarina. I will say this in the form of a story because stories are so powerful. This is not a story, but this is something happened. Some years ago, there was a temple near Bangkok, where they had a statue of Gautama Buddha. And because the temple had to be renovated, the statue had to be moved. And in the process of moving the statue, they discovered it was not an ordinary statue of Buddha, but a golden statue of Buddha. The story goes, when the Buddhist monks made a golden statue, because of a possible invasion and that golden Buddha being stolen, what they did was they covered that statue, golden Buddha statue, with clay. It was such a closely guarded secret. When they died and their followers died, they had forgotten that in this temple they had a golden statue of Buddha. Now, what does it mean to us? It means my body mind is ordinary. That represents what I appear to myself and to others. And the whole of Vedanta says within this body mind, there is something of the Atma Tattva or consciousness. That is the golden Buddha. And when you attain to Acharya Runa, it is the discovery and the manifestation of this Atma Tattva that we are going to talk about. I'll share one more story. And this story I heard when I was in school, and it was told to me by a Catholic priest. It is there in the book by Anthony de Mello called The Song of the Bird, and it was given to me by a colleague of Anthony de Mello, Father Ronnie Prabhu. There was a young man who always dreamt that he wanted to be rich. His whole dreams were to be rich. And one day in his dream, God appears to him and says, tomorrow, I want you to go to the edge of the forest. At sunset, you will see a sadhu sannyas, and he will give you, this is the dream. There is a certain sadhu sannyas who comes from the edge of the forest around sunset, and he will give you something that will make you the richest man in the world. Sure, as predicted, at sunset comes this sadhu sannyas carrying this kamandala with a long beard. He goes to him and says with great excitement, you're supposed to give me something that will make me very rich. The man says, see, I'm a monk, I'm a beggar, I'm a bhikkhu, I don't have anything. He says, no, there is something that you have. If you give me, I will become one of the richest men in the world. He was carrying a bag, and the man says, can I check? He says, of course. And he opened the bag. He was surprised to see one of the biggest diamonds in the world. And he says, what is this? He says, oh, this. As I was walking, I saw something glistening and I picked it up. He says, can you take it? He says, of course you can take it. The man was overjoyed. He had become the richest man in the world. But then he was a wise person. And I believe, like all of you, the question that occurred to him was, this man gave me something so valuable. I'm one of the richest men in the world. He does not even know who I am. The way he gave it to me so casually, who can give such a valuable thing just like that? He must be having something of greater value. What is that? So he goes back to him and says, see, I know you have something of great value. What is that which makes you so rich? I want that. He was a spiritual guru. He looks at him and says, you are that. This is the teaching of the Gita. This is the teaching of all the Upanishads. The Upanishads will look at us and says, Tat Tvam Asi. You are already the richest of the rich in the world. In fact, you're richer than the rich in the world. Now, the advice has been given to me. Has it made any change? It makes no change because, you still feel these are only words. These are only words. And it has made no difference to me. Saying Tat Tvam Asi Aham Brahmasmi seems to give you some knowledge, but it makes no difference. Friends, at some stage, through the guidance of the teacher, let us look into certain verses of the Gita. And slowly, over a period of time, under the guidance of the Guru, one day you will discover the power of these words. What is the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi? Otherwise, it is like you have inheritance of $100 billion. You have got it. It is there in your bank account, but your account is frozen. For some reason, you're not able to unlock your account. Now, to unlock, you have a manual in the Bhagavad Gita. And let us listen to a few verses of the Gita, how the Bhagavad Gita brings the message. And I will request Shamala to chant this for us.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Idantu te guhyatamam pravakshyamyanasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajñātvā mokṣase shubhat.
These are the golden words of the Lord. And he says, my dear, and when he addresses Arjuna, he's addressing all of us. He says, I'm going to share the greatest secret to you. But I want one qualification. I don't want you to be critical. I don't want you to have a proofreader's mind. That is the meaning of anusuyave. If you are not that, I will share it with you. This is jnanam and vijnanam. This is not only knowledge, but it is wisdom. Yet jñātvāt. Once you get this knowledge, moksha se ashubhat. That means from anything inauspicious, you will be freed from. And Shri Krishna continues his superlatives describing what he's going to share. Shamala, please.
Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam.
Krishna seems to be a great advertiser, a great proclamation, but anybody who has studied the Gita knows that this is the truth. What Shri Krishna says, I'm not going to give you ordinary knowledge. This is a royal knowledge. And he makes it interesting by saying this is a royal secret. Pavitram. It is very pure. It has the ability to purify you. It is uttamam. It is the highest. Pratyaksha avagamyam. It is something you can directly see. Right now, $100 billion is sitting in your account, but you can't transact it. But then once you have understood these words, then you will see the richness that you have, which is based on dharma. And Shri Krishna, tells you, susukam. It is easy. It is not very difficult. We'll continue listening to this.
Ashraddhānah purushaha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani.
Remember, we are studying the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is also called a gospel. That means it is spelled out to us by God itself. Unless you see it as the words of God, unless you're able to open up your hearts to it with total trust, that's the meaning of the word Shraddha. Shraddha has no English translation. Shraddha means whatever the scriptures say, whatever my acharya say is 100% true, even if it has not appealed to me. The problem may be my limitations. Somebody needs to be muted. All right. Now, ashraddha, that means if you do not have shraddha, ashraddhāna purushaha. So for those people who do not have this shraddha, then what's aprapyama, they will not be able to attain to me. Nivartante, they will go back to mrityu samsara. They go back to this world of becoming, being born, being dying, and so on. And Shri Krishna, see, after giving such a big introduction, in the 4th verse, Shri Krishna will tell you the truth. This is in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. After giving a nice introduction, in the 4th chapter, in the 4th verse itself, Krishna has told all that he can tell. Please.
Maya tatamidam sarvam जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः
Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. Now Shri Krishna has told us one great truth. I pervade tatam, idam sarvam, this entire universe, jagat, avyakta murtina, in an imperceptible manner. That means whatever you can see around you, including your own body, is pervaded by Lord Krishna. This is scripture. Now, if I am not able to see, then I have to train my eyes. Later in the 11th chapter, Shri Krishna talks about what is called the Divya Chakshu. Now, if you give that wandering eyes, then you will be able to see Maya Tatamidam. Everything that you see, this wall, this laptop, this camera, this mouse, this telephone, everything is a box that is concealing Shri Krishna. Another beautiful verse which comes in the 7th chapter, 7th verse.
मत्तः परतरन्नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव.
Now this is Krishna's message once again. My sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Example he gives you. Now, if you have a necklace where there are a lot of beads, where there are a lot of jewels which have been threaded together. Now you will see the beads, but you will not see the sutra, the thread that is holding everything together. So Krishna says, I am that principle that binds everything together, that holds everything together. I am the cause of everything. Other than me, there is no other cause. I am that causeless cause. There is no cause for me. Now, these are the verses of the Gita, the Upanishad, which need to be understood certainly with the help of the Guru. Initially, you take them as a seed. You meditate on them. The teacher has given you the meaning also. But after some time, it will sprout roots into you. And then you will see Shri Krishna within yourself as the golden Buddha. You see Shri Krishna everywhere around you. It takes time, but it will happen. All we need to do is mind training. Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshay. You know what Shri Krishna says is gospel truth. But then I'm not able to see it. Why? My mind has certain impurities. It is called mala. I have to work on. These are called sadhanas. Sadhana is the technique to be able to remove. Second is, my mind is restless, vikshepaha. And the mind does not know that I am already that. I feel if I become rich, I become famous, I will become complete. But you will see the problem in the mind. Shri Krishna gives all this teaching to Arjuna, but Arjuna is like all of us. And Arjuna says, Bhagwan, Shamala, please.
Arjuna uvacha atha kena prayuktoyam papancarati purushaha anichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha.
This is Arjuna's question. See, Shri Krishna, you have told me so many things. But then I know what is right, I know what is wrong. But there is some force in me that makes me continuously to do what is wrong. You know, where is the problem? Where is the problem? Where is my problem in my mind? So Shri Krishna gives an answer.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Kamayesha Krodhayesha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyena Miha Vairinam.
Maha Ashanaha Mahapapa. This kama, this desire which does not allow me to accept things as they are, are born out of the Rajoguna. And if my karma is not fulfilled, if my desire is not fulfilled, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, all that is born. So Shri Krishna in these verses with the discussion brings out the problem really is in my mind. There is another verse where Arjuna says, chanchala hi manaha. So my mind is restless. So Krishna says, abhyasenu kaunteya. Through practice, you have to train your mind. And if you are able to train your mind, you will be able to work on it. See, as young people, sometimes small things can make you very angry. There is a nice teaching says, anger and upsets, whether justified or not, is always self-damaging. Sometimes I get angry with my parents or angry with others, and then afterwards I shout at others. Or if I am a kind of person who does not express your anger, you suppress it. Whether you express it or suppress it, there is a lot of damage that is done. Can you chant these two verses for us? This comes in the second chapter, Shamila.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
See these beautiful verses which come in the second chapter, the Sthita Prajna portion. Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsaha. Now, for example, karma, a negative thought has come into my mind. Now, the human mind is like that. Because we are exposed to so many things, thoughts will enter into a mind. And the mind is something so powerful, even if you don't see anything, the mind has enough reservoir to bring these negative thoughts. But then, who says we do not know how to meditate? Whenever there is a thought like that, dhyayate vishaya, my mind knows how to meditate on it. Constantly, I want that, I want that, I want that. That meditation. Sangha, that means I want attachment to that. So from Sangha is born Kama. And if my Kama is not fulfilled, Krodha comes. And if my Krodha gets more, some Moha, my mind goes into delusion. And with more intense delusion, confusion. With more confusion, my Buddhi, my intellect gets destroyed. My intellect is destroyed, that can bring about my destruction. So this is which is called the ladder of fall, and that can happen if you are not. That is where the Guru and the Acharyas will tell us, how we can train our mind. And Shamala, please.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्षन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
When I know that my mind is my problem, I'm not able to work on it, that's when I go to a Guru. Tat viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena. When I go to the teacher, I serve my teacher, I ask relevant questions to what kind of a teacher? A teacher is one who is a Brahmanishta, that one who knows who is Brahman and who has become one with Brahman. Not only that, one has the ability to communicate these lofty ideas. And such a Guru, are they available? Plenty of them. Our Gurus are not being utilized. Go to a Guru with all these questions. My mind is chanchalahi manaha. The teacher will tell you how to do. You have to have a right approach to the Guru. My Guru knows, my Guru can help. And if you have the right approach to the Guru will give you certain sadhanas. These sadhanas are very simple. For Mala, it is Karma Yoga. For restless mind, it is Upasana Yoga. For the fact that I do not know my true nature, it is Jnana Yoga. And then what happens? I do Karma Yoga. I convert whatever I have to do as a worship. Slowly, all these impurities will be taken away when I do karma yoga, which is right action and right attitude to my action. I do various forms of upasana, simple upasanas like Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, these are all, for a busy student, it looks like waste of time. But these are not waste of time. These are some things which culture the mind. It helps the mind to be available for the now. It helps my mind to be able to see Sri Krishna everywhere. And then it is through these techniques and through the understanding of the scriptures, I will realize what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. The scripture, they talk, the real me is the Atma. The Atma is not ordinary, it is infinite. I'll conclude by giving you an example from the Kathopanishad. Whenever you see, this is called the Ratha Kalpana example. As a young person, and for all persons also, now the body is compared to a chariot. That means if I have a long journey, my body should be in a good shape. So take care of your body because your body represents the chariot. The horses which pull you in different directions are the sense organs. The sense organs have to be controlled by the mind, and the mind has to be controlled by two people. There is the lower me and there is the higher me. Whenever I put Sri Krishna on the driver's seat, whenever I allow Sri Krishna to be on my driver's seat, there is a beautiful verse which says, Sri Krishna is saying, put me on your driver's seat. Shamala, please.
Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashe yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita.
Krishna is telling us how you can be a sthita prajna. There is a higher me and there is the lower me. But if you have that intelligence to put the higher self, who is that higher self? We will see it in this last verse. And this last verse of the Bhagavad Gita will also be my last verse. Shamala, please.
Yatra yogeshwara Krishnaha yatra partho dhanurdharaha tatra shrirvijayo bhutihi dhruva nitirmatirmama.
This beautiful 78 last verse of the Bhagavad Gita is not the words of Sri Krishna, but it is the words of somebody who's been inspired by listening to Sri Krishna. When Sri Krishna was speaking to Arjuna, not only Arjuna heard it, but Vyasacharya had given a certain Divya Chakshu to Sanjaya, who was the charioteer of Dhritarashtra. That means, even as Sri Krishna was speaking, Sanjaya was able to directly listen to the words of Sri Krishna, and he was transmitting it to the king Dhritarashtra. Now, when somebody listens to the Bhagavad Gita, he may be a charioteer. Sanjaya was just a charioteer, a driver to Dhritarashtra. But then the inspiration that he got, and he says, Matir Mama, this is my opinion. I am not an enlightened person. I have only heard Sri Krishna. And I would like to say, my opinion after listening to Sri Krishna. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. In all of us, there are two people. The higher me is the Yogeshwara Krishna, the principal loaded Sri Krishna. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. The other part of me is the body, mind, my intellect, fully loaded, represented by Arjuna. Whenever you have a combination of a healthy body mind, skilled body mind, combined with the higher values represented by Sri Krishna, whenever you have these combinations, and therefore the future is bright for all of you. Tatra, yatra, tatra. Wherever you have, there. Shri. Shri means prosperity. Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is going to bless you abundantly. Vijaya, you're going to be successful. Bhutir, there will be progress. Dhruva Niti, steady policy. Niti can be also taken as diplomacy. That means you have a very niti. You will say his niti, his mannerisms are so considerate to other people. You will experience all these in your life. Matir Mama. I will conclude with this verse and share all the blessings that my teachers have given me as blessings to all of you. For all those who assembled this morning to listen to these words of inspiration from Shri Krishna. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you very much.
Gita, you can start. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dr. Timmapppa. It was really nice. I'll pass it on to Pujita and Sushmita. They'll probably take the Q&A.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Timmapppa. We're all so blessed that we got to listen to this talk today. You've given all of us so much to think about and meditate on. What I could totally relate with was Arjuna saying that I know what's right and what's wrong, yet I'm not able to do what exactly is right. Why is that? And Krishna replying to that. And the person listening technique and breaking down to breakthrough is something that I will always follow from here on. Thank you so much. In fact, last year, I think my mother got the chance to listen to one of your talks in valedictory of Bethany High School. And she came back home and she was all praises for your talk. She said, the speaker is so inspiring. And that day, I remember very well, I was so interested and I totally wished that I should get a chance to listen to you. And that was fulfilled today. Thank you so much. And I'm sure all our audience have so many questions to ask you. So over to Sushmita to moderate the question and answer session.
Hari Om all. So let's go in for the question session. Requesting all of you to post in your questions on the chat so I can read out your names and you can ask and get your questions clarified by Dr. Timmapppa.
Sushmita, they can either post or they can just raise their hands and ask. Either one should be fine, I guess. If they post, we'll do it. Yeah.
Forum is open for questions right now.
Thank you, Karthik, for unmuting me. Hi, Doctor. Thanks for the talk today. It was really, really good. Just a question around on a day-to-day basis, like how Arjuna said, what can I do to put things into practice? Is this some type of things that maybe you do or we could even try doing to get that discipline and maybe purify the mind better?
Your voice is not audible.
Sorry, is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just wondering, on a day-to-day basis, is there anything in particular that maybe you might be doing or we can even try taking away to help us with that discipline and purifying the mind?
Maybe one discipline is the discipline of silence, because as far as possible, be a witness to that chattering mind and just tell your mind to shut up and just watch. The more you experience being in the now, just not doing anything, because the mind has a method of either thinking about something or ruminating over whatever has been done. In our own life, we see a lot of human suffering. We see a lot of patients coming with very serious problems. And when they share all their problems, it is not only medical issues, it is economical issues, there are human personal issues. And sometimes all these thoughts can affect you and it will affect the way you handle yourself, more importantly. So it is important that when you are associated with that activity, be 100%, be a good listener, and then slowly be able to ask your mind to stop ruminating on that. You remember those words, dhyayato vishaya pumsaha. Because if there is one thought that can take your mind And that mind, so negative thoughts or any thoughts can come into your mind. The real discipline is, okay, there is a thought which I don't want to entertain. Let me ask it to shut up and use your own techniques to come to the now. There are two important techniques which will help you to come to the now. And this have been told by my guru. One is by becoming, whenever a thought comes, somebody has said 4 Ds. I will try to bring this thought in. So there is a negative thought which is eating up in your mind and you want to get out of that thought. So what do? First D is stop that activity, distance yourself from the place where you got that thought. Because it may be reading, it may be a telephone or something that has brought in a negative thought. So first is, a lot of social distancing. First D is keep yourself at a distance from where you got that thought. Second is drink water. Create another activity which will bring in, which will try to take that thought from your mind. Third is deep breathing. Take a deep breath. Whenever there is a negative emotion and anger and upset coming with a particular thought and that breathing, there is a certain type of breathing which are linked together. So what you do is you disconnect that emotion and that breathing pattern by deliberately breathing deeply. So the first is distance, second is to drink some water, third is deep breathing. Fourth is delay gratification. That means if you have to respond to that, or if you want to get that thing done, increase that gap by filling it with some other activity. And when you do those 4 Ds, maybe you could win over your mind for some time.
Yeah, I like it. I agree, because sometimes the mind doesn't stop thinking. I'll see something there, I think about something there. Thank you so much.
Okay, the next question, Dr. Prithvi would like to ask. Okay, he asked, could you explain how to let go of one's ego and accept things as it is?
This should be an ongoing exercise, because the ego is ego, for instance, the ego is a function of the mind. And all of us who are in the spiritual path would like to remain with less ego or no ego. But the ego manifests in a very different manner. It becomes a very polished ego. You may not manifest it, but then you get hurt. That's why I made that statement. Hurt or upset. Whenever you feel hurt or whenever you feel upset, it is a manifestation of the ego. And therefore, the ego will come in so many ways. The ego can be worked out only when you discover that you are really something higher. When you discover something of the higher, and if you are able to see the higher in another person, when through some of these techniques, you are able to be exposed to something of the higher. I will just leave it at that. Then it is possible that the ego, or when your ego is hurt or the ego is affected. One of my teachers, Swami Anubhavananda, had something nice to say. He says, you don't need to prove anything to anybody. Whenever you feel the need to prove I am good, I am able, I am successful, I am rich, whenever these are all manifestations of the ego. So whenever that need comes to prove something, and whenever you find yourself justifying whatever you said, justifying your point of view, you will see it is the ego coming. Don't do that. If somebody says something, you say, okay. Nobody can defeat somebody who refuses to fight. With a nice smile on your face, just say yes. And that's a nice technique to work on the ego.
Okay, Arjun, you would like to ask a question?
No, go ahead, Sushmita.
So Arjun would like to ask, when you were a student, what were the things that you did to control your mind? Because at that time, he believes that you hadn't read or understood the Gita completely. Most of us here have been through when we were young.
Now, whether you are young or old, same story, Sushmita, the mind is still as bad as ever. I don't think we have really transformed like that. But as I said, these are the truths. See, Shri Krishna and Arjuna, they speak for us, Chanchala hi manaha, my mind is restless. Then another wonderful thing is, and we do that all the time, I know what is right, I know what is wrong. And still knowing what is right and wrong, I still find myself doing what is wrong. So I will give you another formula and I hope that will work for you. This formula has been given by Swami Paramarthanandaji. It is called the FIR principle. FIR is like a personal inventory to see if you're working in the right direction as far as making mistakes mentally, emotionally, or whatever. Now, F stands for frequency. How frequently I get very angry, upset, how frequently I lose my equilibrium. So keep a personal inventory of your frequency over the years. If you're really spiritually evolving, that the frequency of the upsets will come down. Second is called intensity. Now, intensity is classified in 3. I may be upset for some reason, but you're watching me very closely. The camera is on my eyes. But you don't see any upset because the lowest level of intensity is mental and I'm able to mask it. I'm upset for some reason, but I'm able to control it. When the intensity becomes more, you will see it in my speech. Level 2 is when the speech is affected. My volume is definitely going to be louder. Have you seen somebody who's very angry but speaking softly? It doesn't happen, no? Whenever you're angry, your volume increases. So many times I have to tell somebody, I can listen to you. You don't have to raise your voice. But whenever you're angry, the volume becomes more, the pitch becomes more. So level 2 is verbal. And level 3 of upset, of intensity of upset is you can see the body is now flushed. The muscles are very tense. It looks like the person is going to hurt himself or hurt others. So this is level 3. So imagine there is a camera in front of you and you ask yourself, first is frequency, second is intensity. Is it level 1? Is it mental? Is it verbal? Is it from my body? And the third is called R. Can you guess what R is? If there is a certain spiritual evolution, Sushmita, what do you think R is? How quickly you're able to recover. Before, whenever I used to get upset, I used to take days to recover. And now it may come to hours. Then with real evolution, it comes into a matter of few minutes. In few minutes, I'm back to my normalcy. So this is FIR. FIR is a personal inventory. As I said, whether you're young or at any age, the mind goes through. But if spiritual evolution really works, you will see your FIR should be improved. Your frequency should come down, your intensity should come down, your recovery should be faster.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Dr. Prithvi asking how to keep the mind always on the high energy without getting affected from the external environment.
I can't tell you something better than what the Bhaja Govindam says. What exactly we are doing now? Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi. If you want to keep yourself inspired, be in satsanga. Satsanga is being together with a group of like-minded people who want to evolve into something higher. Gautama Buddha had said, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Surrender to an enlightened person. But enlightened persons are very rare to get. Then what you do, you create a satsang. This is exactly a satsang. We are 100 people here. A group of so many people now motivated to see how I can progress. So I surrender or I be in touch with satsanga. Satsangatve nissangatvam. This word sat is loaded. Sat means truth. Sat means also existence. So, nissangatve, whenever I am in satsanga, I'm no longer interested in the share market, nor am I interested in corona, nor am I interested in any bad news. So I'm keeping away from all anatma related issues. Satsangatve nissangatvam. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. To that extent, my mind is now free from moha or delusion. Nirmohatve nischala tattvam. The restlessness of my mind becomes less and less. And the more transparent the mind becomes, I discover my real self, Jivan Mukti. So be in touch with inspired people. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. If you find an enlightened teacher, very good. But that is rare. But be in the satsanga.
Sir, you're a neurosurgeon. You probably have witnessed death on the table right in front of your eyes. The head of the department of surgery in my hospital says that the day you witness death in front of your eyes, that's when you become a great doctor. So how do you so let's say we are not disturbed by death, how do we communicate to the patient? Like the duration is very short when you experience it and when you have to convey it. So how do you convey it? And even if you do, like, how do you continue to do surgeries beyond that? Like, you always feel that you're inadequate, you don't know enough to you don't know everything at that point.
Okay, there are many aspects here. One is about doctor-patient interaction in one of the most difficult situations, especially when it comes to interacting with or sharing the news of death. Now, this is not easy if a certain level of a rapport has not been developed already. You know, a doctor and a patient should have a certain mutual understanding, especially when you're dealing with very sick people, those whom you're taking for high-risk operations. The family has to be mentally prepared. And yet, however much you tell them, it is not easy to break the news of death. So generally what hospitals do is the person is on a ventilator for some time. So there are methods by slowly breaking news that the person is critically ill. But if the person has, the heart has stopped and there is, when you have to break bad news, there is no shortcut. It is your authenticity speaks. I'm not hiding anything from you. This is a fact. So you need to be able to call the family, call responsible members of the family together and see how well, and it is not an easy job, it is a difficult job. And whenever you go through death and the dying, it affects you very deeply. Again, it is the Bhagavad Gita and all these scriptural studies which will help you to understand that it cannot be done at that moment. It has to be a long-term preparation that wherever there is life, there is death. And life and death are not two different things. Life and death are two aspects of one and the same thing. It is just like breathing in and breathing out. The first thing that you do when you are born is to breathe in. The last thing that you do when a person dies is to breathe out. That is why breathing out is called expire. Dying is also called expire. If you learn life very closely, if you watch life closely, every moment you are born when you breathe in, every moment you die when you breathe out. Now, if you train yourself, you are training yourself being born, being dying, born, dying 100 times a day. Every time you wake up in the morning, you're born. Every time you go to bed, you're preparing to die. Now, that is why we have Dvikala Sandhya. When you have Sandhya, morning twilight, Hiranmayena Patrina Satyasyahi Pitam Mukham is life. The evening Sandhya is a preparation for death. Evening also you say Hiranmayena Patrena. In the Isha Vasya, there are a series of nice verses. Pushan ekarasi yama surya prajapatye yovarasmin samohate yatte rupam kalyanat. Then basmantam shariram. You are surrendering your body. So every morning you're born, every evening you die. Every Breathing in is life, breathing out is death. So it is not with one or two experiences of death. It is an ongoing experience. So life teaches you gradually to understand that life and death are not opposites, but they are complementary. Wherever there is life, there is death. But you know, these are difficult things for you, but authenticity speaks. We can go on, but we'll fix a time limit. We'll call another 5 minutes and close.
Yeah, just I think one more question, I guess, Sushmita. Maybe you can take that. I think I can see a question from Mohan, I think. Someone else is asking. Yeah, the other questions we'll start taking it. You start noting them down, I guess, Sushmita. Mohan, can you unmute and if you raise your hand, we can get you to talk. Sushmita, go ahead and ask the question fast.
Mohan Prem wants to ask, do we actually not need the ego and desire to get forward in college and office life in today's world? So how do we balance this out?
We often feel that today's world is different from yesterday's world. Today's world is the same as Sri Krishna's 2,500 or 5,000 years ago. The ego is absolutely, absolutely, absolutely useful in vyavahara, in transactions. When I play the role of a doctor, I get into the uniform of a doctor. When I play the role of a father, I play the role of a father 100%. When I play whatever role that I play as a driver. Now, these are egos are all role plays. And whenever you have to play your role, how do you play your role? 100%. Play that role 100%. But remember, we are all experts at playing multiple roles. So when you play one role, you can scold somebody and you can be nice to somebody else at the same time. You're putting different masks. Each of those masks are different masks. That means for a certain situation, I play a particular role. For another situation, I play another role. But then you realize, in reality, I am none of these roles. These are only for vyavahara. So in Vedanta, there is something called paramarthika. So from vyavahara, when you anchor and understand the golden Buddha or the Atma story, you realize the paramarthika is the real me. The paramarthika is that person and I, the doctor and the patient, the master and the student. You know, mano buddhi hankara chittanena. So there is no master, there is no student, there is no guru, there is no shishya, there is nobody. So from a paramarthika angle, none of these are there. But from a vyavahara angle, all of them are there. But remember, from a play these roles, you have to be a very skilled actor in life, where you play your roles. And when you have to be disciplinarian with your child or with your somebody who's made an error, you don't offend the person, but you do whatever you can in your skills to set what is right, wrong, whatever is wrong, right, and so that it is not repeated. If you need to be firm, if you need to punish, play that role, because your role demands that. But from your own angle, remember that you are not that role. So remember, treat your role as for vyavahara only, for transaction purpose only, and see yourself as other than the role.
Thank you, sir. There's one last question which we'll take up.
Is that okay with you, Dr. Timmapppa? There's just one question.
Sure.
Amor would like to ask, how do we stay focused and concentrated in the work that we do and give my full potential? So how do we do that?
Yeah, this requires mind training. See, you will see small children, their attention is so temporary. They will get distracted with 100 things. As the mind gets evolved, we have to train our mind to be at a particular locus, at a particular position, 100% for as long as it is required. Now, if this is a 90-minute session, for 90 minutes, there will be no other activity. I'm here with you. Now, how do we do it? There is a technique among all the sadhanas called upasana. Krishna in the 10th chapter says one of the greatest techniques of upasana is mantra japa. to all of us busy people, mantra japa looks like pure waste of time. For you're given a japa mala and the teacher will tell you Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram 10 times, and then one bead comes. Like that, you have to do so many malas. These look like pure waste of time. But then that chanchala manaha, that wandering mind, is slowly trained. These are methods we already have, but we don't usually do them. And the more we do these forms of mantras, our mind can be focused in whatever I have to do for as long as it is required. The mind now becomes a servant, and the Atma becomes the boss and tells the mind what it should do.
Sir, just one second question which Amog wanted to be particularly asked is, what is success according to Bhagavad Gita, and how we can achieve success in life?
I spoke to you about that. Vasudeva Vasutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. See, success is very individual. So each one has to have one's own definition of success. Now, for me, this is my definition of success. So if that inspires you, you can take it. How do I fulfill all the three rinas? Pitra rina, Loka rina, and Acharya rina. And that could be one definition of success, but then whatever is your definition of success, and if you're able to attain to that. So, I mean, nobody can give someone else, no? You can only empower yourself to say that we have a lot of faculties. So the Acharya Rina does not mean that you have to become enlightened or something else. It means all of us have a certain potential. Let me bloom to my fullest potential.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope Amog got his answers. Now, any other questions to be asked? Put it up in the YouTube link which will be provided, and then your questions will be answered soon. So over to Pujita for the proceedings.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I think all questions posted on the chat right now were raised in this session. As we reach the end of the event, Shalini will now render the vote of thanks.
Words do little justice, but our sincere thank you to Dr. Timmapppa ji for making the time to address us with these priceless nuggets. We understood that Gita is for those who are living and want to live. It has made us think about why, what, and how Gita. Knowing why brings clarity to our thought process in what we do and how to do, and gives us purpose. Thank you all for attending. It is your participation and questions that make the session more engaging. It is our endeavor to bring more such interactive sessions going forward. Do leave your name and contact details in the chat box so that we can intimate you about such sessions. Last but not the least, once again, our heartfelt gratitude to Thimappa ji for this enriching experience. We look forward to having more such talks with you, sir. Thank you very much for making time despite a busy schedule. Hari Om.
Thank you, Shalini. We're all truly grateful to the forces in and outside our control for making this event what it was now. Over to Prem Swarup for the ending prayers.
Om Sarvesham Swastir Sarvesham Shantir Sarvesham Purnam Sarvesham Mangalam Sarve Bhavantu Sukinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhad Bhavet. Om Purnamadha Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.